calcify the edge of these fibrous collections, and so they produce this eggshell calcification on radiograph. So you don't see this in the other entities. On histology, we see layers of these dense hyalinized collagen. So it makes these nice, pretty whorls of collagen. You see the same in the lung. This is in the lymph node. This is an example in the lymph node. You can see all the lymphocytes in the background. And here's the peripheral calcifications in the hilar lymph nodes that's characteristic. So that eggshell calcification. Important to know, again, like I said, dyspnea, so nothing really helpful there. You're going to need some history. This is associated with increased susceptibility to TB, classically. This is due to impaired macrophage function, and this does have an increased risk for lung carcinoma. And this is all subtypes of lung carcinoma. And asbestos. So, the worst form is the amphibill. This is the straight, stiff, brittle form. So basically these can line up with the airway and go way down deep into the airway. But both of them can cause pathogenesis. So both of them can cause any of the diseases. The stiff is just the worst. There's 4 diseases that are linked to asbestos. You can have localized pleural plaques, diffuse interstitial fibrosis. This is what we refer to as asbestosis. Lung carcinoma, all subtypes, and mesothelioma. So your localized pleural plaques sound just like they're described. So there's very discrete areas of fibrosis on the pleural surface. They often happen on the diaphragm. And when you look under histology, essentially what you have is just dense, hyalinized, collagenous tissue, and you don't have asbestos bodies in there. So it's just basically a collection of fibrosis. These usually don't cause any problems, and these are not a precursor for the development of mesothelioma. Asbestosis, so remember this is when you have diffuse interstitial fibrosis, and you distinguish this as a cause of interstitial lung disease by the presence of these asbestos bodies. So this is what you're going to be looking for. They're characteristically these beaded rods or dumbbell-shaped asbestos bodies. This presents with progressive dyspnea accompanied by cough, and this is usually many years after the initial exposure. So asbestosis, look for these asbestos bodies. Lung carcinoma, so the risk is increased 5-fold for asbestos workers. As I said, this is associated with all of the major subtypes, and smoking dramatically increases the risk. So you go from a 5-fold to a 50-fold increased risk for primary lung carcinoma in asbestos patients. Mesothelioma, so very highly associated with asbestos exposure, great relative risk. Here, smoking does not increase the risk, so there's no multiplicative effect of smoking on mesothelioma with asbestos. This has a very characteristic gross look. You basically have this thick, fibrous rind that surrounds the lung. And here's a very extreme example. Most important to know, awful prognosis. As you'd imagine this would be, you can't really do much about that. So these patients